1,000 years ago, a human looked at this and decided that we need a weapon of mass destruction. So what do humans do with their ideas? They make them come true! So, guns. Ever since humanity created them, they were getting progressively better and progressively more efficient. Smartest engineering minds all over the world continue to refine and improve these weapons, to the point when they are now easy to use, easy to handle, and easy for the average American citizen to acquire. Everybody knows that guns were created with a sole purpose: to kill. Because of the consequences the use of the gun brings, different countries have applied different restrictions related to guns. In this video, I will talk about gun laws and gun policies in the United States. I will review research and data evidence that will showcase all the downsides as well as benefits of restrictive/permissive gun laws. After all of that, I will give you my opinion, and you, my audience, can make a conclusion by yourself.
Número 1.
Did you know that there is 400 million privately owned guns in United States, which leaves every single person in United States with a humble number of 1.4 gun per person? Humans like to express their own opinion about everything surrounding them, and as we all know, different Homo sapienses have different ideas about what is right and what is left. So, we can't really guess what they're thinking about most of the time. So instead of guessing, thankfully to research groups, we came up with a beautiful idea of extracting the generalized statistics of opinions for literally anything we want. Being a smart little girl/boy/whatever you identify as, you probably understood that in this section of the video, we will talk about public opinions on gun policies. So, just like that, here I gathered some very interesting trends in public opinion regarding different gun policies in United States. The first beautiful chart we're gonna look at has 3 categories in it. The policy about licensure, the policy about universal background check, and the policy about background check for mental illnesses. This data is straight from 2019, not 2025, but potato, so I don't really care. According to the data we have here, 75% of people support the licensure policy, 87% of people support the background checks, and 85% support the mental illness background check. The next part of the graph is about prohibition of owning a gun in certain conditions. The first condition we see here is convicted of a serious crime as a juvenile, and the rate of support of this policy is 75%. 75% of people agree that you should not give a gun to a past convict. Another bullet point on the graph chart is under the age of 21, and the rate of support for this one is 65%. So 35% of people like to see their kids running around with AK-47s instead of a Nerf gun. In some other policies here, 77% of people support mandatory minimum sentence for knowingly selling a gun to someone who cannot legally have a gun. 73% of people support safe gun storage policies. And 42% of people support the restoration of the right to have a gun after involuntary commitment for mental illness. For the next gun-related policies, people were separated into non-gun owners and gun owners. Of course, the opinion differed a lot, with non-gun owners having a stronger trend in support of the policies, while gun owners disagreed. Here is a couple of the policies that are really worth paying attention to. I will give you a little tiny warning. These are kind of outrageous, so just be aware of it. 55% of gun owners and 29% of non-gun owners support the policy that allows a person who can legally carry a concealed gun to bring it to college. The next one left me disappointed and feeling really violated. 47% of gun owners and 25% of non-gun owners support a policy that allows a person to bring a gun into the kindergarten. The next one is less bad, but still. 34% of gun owners and 18% of non-gun owners allow a person who can legally own a gun to carry it loaded, concealed, in a public, without having to obtain a concealed carry license. If this stuff didn't leave you disappointed in humanity yet, don't worry, we still have like 15 minutes of video left. Did you know that the homicide rate by firearms in United States is 25 times more than around the globe, and the suicide rate is 10? Let's talk comparison. As we know, the difference between law permissiveness between the state of California and the state of Texas differ really drastically. While the state of Texas lets its citizens use guns more freely, California has the opposite opinion that pretty much reflects in stricter gun laws. In the next study, a research team found that states with more permissive gun laws and greater gun ownership have higher rates of mass shootings, and growing divide appears to be emerging between restrictive and permissive states. This graph shows the correlation between gun ownership to the amount of mass shootings committed. Comparing California to Texas, we can see that California is lower on the scale, while states like Texas, Wyoming, known for its historically permissive gun policies, stand much higher in the amount of mass shootings. This next graph only supports the idea that permissive laws will only result in more death and killing. This last one is about that divide that I mentioned before, where permissive states have much higher rate of mass shootings than the restrictive states. In addition, 45% of all the guns around the globe is owned by United States citizens. The question is it like that everywhere, or is it just United States? Let's look Germany. A study done by Maria Gonzalez about gun regulation and cultural attitudes showed that far too often Texans have been at the heart of mass shootings due to relaxed gun laws. The result of those horrific events did not stick as a life lesson, and the number of guns per capita continues to increase. On the contrary, Germany has learned from its past experiences and adopted legislation, which had served to substantially lower the number of mass shootings throughout the country. In the conclusion of a study, authors said that the Texas state constitution allows the legislature to restrict the wearing of guns in very limited circumstances, and that Texas must modify the wearing of arms for the sake of its citizens.
Número 2.
Unfortunately, every single day, 12 children die from guns in the United States. This next topic is pretty heavy because we will focus on the harm that guns bring to the children of the United States. You probably did not know that the leading cause of the children's death in the United States is guns. It is so bad that the death by gun-related injuries surpassed even motor vehicle crashes. A report by Hopkins Center for Gun Violence Solutions show that firearms accounted for nearly a third of all deaths among 15 to 17-year-olds. There were 2,526 gun deaths in 2022 among 1 to 17-year-olds, averaging to nearly 7 deaths per day. 55% of deaths among black older teens aged 15 to 17 were caused by guns. Did you know that statistically nearly half of the parents falsely believe that their children do not know where the gun is in the house? It is truly shocking to see how many accidents that involve kids happen because of the unsafe gun storage or gun handling. A 9-month-old baby was shot by her father. While he was picking up his daughter, his gun fell out of his holster, and when he grabbed for it, it went off. A 1-year-old girl was shot by her 9-year-old brother, who was playing in his room with a 410 gauge gun. He slipped on a toy and pulled the trigger by accident. A 3-year-old boy was accidentally shot by his father, who was cleaning his .50 caliber handgun, which he thought was unloaded. I'm personally really familiar with guns due to necessity of it, but the way kids learn about the guns in United States is really scary. A study done by Hemingway and Solnick found that children aged 11 to 14 are really often shot in home of friends. The large majority of children are shot by other children, or by themselves. Risk and benefits of a gun in the home study showed that a gun in the home is a risk factor for completed suicide, and then gun accidents are most likely to occur in homes with guns. Unfortunately, suicides account for 55% of all gun-related deaths. Nearly 90% of all suicide attempts with the use of gun result in death. A study done by Marco Gianni examined the impact of a state gun law environment on suicides overall and within demographic subgroups. The study found that strengthening gun control may reduce firearm suicides overall, but may increase non-firearm suicides. The issue of suicides was never a gun restriction problem. It existed in the past, it exists now, and it will exist for a long time. Gun restrictions might only impact the success of attempts, not the frequency. In the previous data I've presented to you, mass shootings were mentioned very often. Mass shootings is the issue that continues to grow and becomes a common occurrence instead of staying a rare tragedy. This is a chart that shows a slow but steady increase in gun-related deaths starting from 1999 up to 2017. On August 3, 2019, a mass shooting occurred at a Walmart store in El Paso, Texas. The gunman, 21-year-old Patrick Wood, shot 45 people, killing 23 and injuring 22 others. Those were his victims. A study on whether restrictiveness, permissiveness of state gun laws are associated with mass shootings in the US showed that a 10-unit increase in state gun law permissiveness was associated with a significant 11.5 higher rate of mass shootings. To support the claim that permissive gun laws always result in a significant increase in gun-related violence, here is another study done by Langton and Planty. The study confirms that the available evidence is consistent with the hypothesis that increased gun prevalence increases the homicide rate. If you're not convinced yet, in addition, to support the argument even more, the following figure shows an amount of gun massacres during the federal assault weapon ban from 1994 to 2004. Here we can see a drastic decrease in the amount of mass shootings. I do not know what else you need to be convinced. You know, after talking for 15 minutes about this, I might just start to think that this might be a gun problem. The next study will only support... Okay, I'm joking, there's no more studies. One of the issues that comes up when we think about guns in the United States is, of course, school shootings. School shootings, besides being talked about the most, are the rarest type of murder. It is a tragedy, it is extremely horrific, and the amount of school shootings are also strongly dependent on permissiveness of gun laws. We all know about the horrific Columbine High School shooting in Columbine, Colorado. In 1999, the perpetrators, 12th grade student Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, murdered 13 students and 1 teacher. The question is, how did 2 minors acquire guns? You see, because of how easy it is to buy a gun, 2 guns used in the attack were bought for Harris and Klebold by their friend Robin Anderson. Shooters were too young to purchase guns legally, so they turned to an external help, and without any issues they acquired a weapon. Later, one of the shooters also obtained a handgun through a coworker. Suppliers were of course persecuted for giving a handgun to a minor and served a prison sentence for it. As we can see, nothing stops a person when they are committed to commit. but in our case, it always comes down to an easy gun accessibility. A study by Mark Hughes examined school shootings and found that assault weapon bans and background checks were associated with fewer school shooting incidents. Also, it was found that assault weapon bans reduced the number of school shooting victims by 54.4%. However, all the other gun control laws that we talked about, like concealed carry laws, background checks, mental health history, has no statistically significant effects on school shootings. With the permissiveness of the gun laws, the ones who should be intimidated not to act on their worst twisted urges now can pull the gun out from under driver's seat or the glove compartment or dashboard or wherever they keep it, doesn't matter, and intimidate police in return. It may sound like a crazy thing to do, but believe me, there are so many stupid people out there, and yes, they do pull out the gun, and yes, they do shoot officers. Another study that I'm gonna present you, don't know which one by number is this, I stopped counting after third one, concluded that high public gun ownership is a risk for occupational mortality for law enforcement officers in the United States. Unfortunately, law enforcement officers have an occupational homicide rate 3 times the national average, and it is the second leading cause of occupational mortality for this group, behind motor vehicle collisions. Well, no shit, it is a problem when a multi-billion companies are making games based on the reality that your country is living in. And you couldn't care less because some white from Cleveland really wants to compare his gun to the gun of his neighbor and like a real American man go on a hunt with a neighbor holding hands and holding guns. It is basically sunset and you can see the moon and the water. I start hearing rustling in the bushes and I know it's most likely wild animals. Also, I heard some coyotes screaming across me. And you know what? I almost wish I had a gun. One of the obvious ideas that come to our head when we think about benefits of guns is self-protection and entertainment. We already talked about seemingly absent benefits from owning a gun at home, because when everybody else has a gun, you can't really protect yourself. So let's talk about somebody who cannot own a gun. And no, it's not minors or mentally sick people. We already talked about it, and they also can own a gun if they really want to. Let's talk about our fellow eukaryotes. Specifically Kingdom Animalia, specifically Phylum Chordata, specifically class Mammalia, and, well, you understand, brown bears.
O cholera, czy to Freddy Fazbear?
Let's talk bears. Using a gun in a bear encounter does not make you safer. A study done by Tom Smith found that firing a gun is no more effective in keeping people from injury or death than not using a firearm. He said, "It really isn't about the kind of gun you carry, it's about how you carry yourself." The researchers found no statistical difference in the outcome when they compared those who used the gun in aggressive encounters and those who did not use a gun. In contrast to this information, an article published by Zita Fletcher talks about all the benefits that law-abiding gun owners can get out of the ability to carry a gun when it comes to encountering wild animals. Zita says that gun control laws proposed by anti-gun politicians could potentially impact citizens' abilities to protect themselves and their domestic animals from creatures of greater strengths like bears, mountain lions, and bobcats. Who else but Americans think that guns are extremely entertaining? That's why in 2022, 14.4 million people aged 16 and over hunted in the United States. According to the report of Cindy Sandoval, we can see that the hunting and fishing remain highly important outdoors pursuits in the United States. As we know, real Americans ain't gonna hunt with a bow and arrow. Real hunting is done with shotgun and a rifle. Besides getting a pure joy from murder, hunters contributed $45 billion to the US economy in 2022. Just like that, this amazing creation is coming to an end. I have reviewed a lot of downsides of permissive gun laws, and let's be honest, there's not that many benefits. When you give a gun to almost every single person in the country, you cannot expect for it to be peaceful. As we saw with the comparison to California and to Germany, you can achieve peace, but for this you will need very strict gun regulations.